Madison sighed dramatically, flipping her hair over her shoulder. She always had a flair for the theatrical. "I think we should break up," she said, her voice smooth, rehearsed. Then she added with a calculated softness, "But I really hope we can still be friends." I nodded. No anger, no pleading, just silence. Her expression faltered for half a second before she recovered, flashing a bright, almost relieved smile. She thought she had won. She walked out of my apartment, her designer heels clicking against the wooden floor, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive perfume and betrayal. I shut the door behind her. That was it. 7 years together, discarded like an old receipt. Fine, I wasn't the type to beg. A week later, my phone buzzed. "Madison, hey, can you help me out with rent this month?" I stared at the message, the audacity of it almost comical. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before I typed back. "Me. Ask your new boyfriend. Oh wait, he's broke too?" Delivered. Read. No response. I smirked and put my phone down. Flashback. How we got here. Madison had always been charming, effortlessly so. The kind of woman who could talk her way out of a speeding ticket or get a free dessert just by smiling at the waiter. She was beautiful, sure, but it was her ability to make people feel special that really did it. She had done it to me once, made me feel like I was the only man in the world, until I wasn't. It started small, little things. She became more distant, more secretive. Her phone, which used to lay face up on the table, was now always screen side down. Late nights at work, texts from an unsaved number, a slip of the tongue when she mentioned a place we had never been, to me at least. And then the final confirmation. A mutual friend, bless her bluntness, sent me a picture. Madison. Lips, locked with some guy I had never seen before. In a bar we used to go to together. That was all I needed. I didn't confront her, didn't yell, didn't fight, just let her dig her own grave. And now, she thought I would still be her safety net. Back to the present. My phone buzzed again. "Madison. It's just a small favor. I know we're not together, but I thought you'd still care." "Still care?" I exhaled a laugh, the kind that came from deep amusement rather than humor. Me caring was part of the package. "Madison, you lost that when you picked someone else." A long pause. Then, finally, her typing bubble appeared. "Madison, you're being childish." "Me? No, I'm being mature. I moved on. Maybe you should try it too." Lock. I leaned back, satisfied. She wanted me to be mature, so I let her new boyfriend pay her bills. For the first few weeks after our breakup, Madison was thriving, or at least, that's what her social media suggested. Every few days, she posted a new story. Dinner at upscale restaurants, rooftop bars with glowing city lights in the background. Selfies with her new boyfriend Jason, his arm draped around her like he had won some grand prize. The captions were always just subtle enough to be aimed at me, living my best life. New beginnings, new adventures. Sometimes change is the best thing that can happen to you. I never responded, never liked, never watched, never engaged. I knew she was waiting for some kind of reaction, but she was met with nothing but silence. At first I thought maybe she really had moved on, that she had traded stability for excitement and didn't regret a thing, and honestly, that was fine by me. But then the cracks started to show. The posts became less frequent, the captions lost their usual spark, the extravagant outings started to dwindle, replaced by generic at-home snapshots or recycled pictures from weeks prior. And then, after about a month, the first sign of trouble appeared. One I had been waiting for, a message. "Madison, hey, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to say there's no hard feelings, maybe we can catch up sometime?" I stared at my phone, shaking my head. Hard feelings? She thought that was the issue? She thought I had just been sitting around, wounded, waiting for a moment to reconnect? I didn't reply. Instead, I let her sit with the silence. A few more weeks passed and Madison reached out again. This time, the tone was different. "Madison. Hey, quick question, do you still have my Hulu login?" I laughed when I read that one. She wasn't even trying to hide the fact that she was struggling. "Me. I do, but I changed the password. Hope your new boyfriend has a subscription." She left it on. Read. It didn't take much to figure out what was happening. Jason wasn't the upgrade she thought he was. Sure, he looked the part. Flashy, confident, always quick with a big gesture. But the thing about guys like him, they were great at putting on a show, but terrible at long-term maintenance. Madison had gone from a relationship where I handled the bills, the responsibilities, the real-life stability, to a guy who barely had his life together. At first I imagined it was exciting. He probably made her feel special, gave her attention in a way she had been craving. But reality always catches up. Her Instagram stories shifted from fine dining to takeout boxes. The trips to high-end boutiques disappeared, replaced by cryptic, moody posts about self-care and learning lessons. The sparkle was fading, and fast. And then, the real message came. "Madison, hey, I know this is awkward, but can you help me out with something? I'm a little short this month on rent." I let out a low whistle, shaking my head. There it was. The moment she had officially come full circle. I typed back, "Me, ask your new boyfriend." "Oh wait, he's broke too?" This time, she didn't leave me on red. She responded almost immediately. "Madison, Eric, come on, it's not like that, it's just a rough patch. You know I'd help you if the roles were reversed." I laughed out loud at that one. "Me, you wouldn't. And we both know it." Locked. Again. After that, Madison disappeared from my radar. I didn't check her socials, didn't ask mutual friends about her. She had made her choices, and now she was living with them. One evening, while out with friends, I overheard someone mention her name. Apparently things with Jason had gone south fast. Turned out his whole big spender act had been built on a shaky foundation of debt and borrowed money. Once Madison realized she had downgraded instead of upgraded, the honeymoon phase was over. She had tried to rekindle our friendship as a safety net, but she underestimated just how done I was. Because maturity wasn't about being nice to someone who wronged you. Sometimes maturity meant letting people face the consequences of their choices. And Madison? She was getting exactly what she deserved. Madison had always believed she could land on her feet no matter what. She had spent years perfecting the art of persuasion, making people feel obligated to help her, spinning situations to her advantage. She had never truly experienced what it was like to be left alone with her own decisions. Until now, the last message I sent her, that brutal "ask your new boyfriend, oh wait, he's broke too," must have hit her harder than she expected. She didn't respond, didn't argue, didn't try to guilt-trip me the way she had in the past. Instead, she simply vanished. Her social media went silent. The constant posts, the passive-aggressive quotes about new beginnings, all gone. No more carefully curated selfies with Jason, no more check-ins at trendy restaurants. The image she had worked so hard to maintain had started to collapse, and for the first time, she had nothing left to hide behind. I didn't need to dig for details. They found their way to me. A mutual friend, one who had no idea I was done hearing about Madison, brought her up in conversation one day. "Man, Madison's going through it," she said, shaking her head. "I saw her the other day and she did not look like herself." "You heard about her and Jason, right?" I hadn't, but I already knew where this was going. Apparently Jason's big talk about a luxury lifestyle was nothing but smoke and mirrors. He wasn't just struggling, he was drowning. He had maxed out credit cards, unpaid loans, and an apartment he couldn't afford. Madison, used to being with someone who handled everything effortlessly, had walked right into a situation where she was now the one picking up the slack. At first, she must have thought she could manage. She probably told herself Jason just needed time, that things would turn around. But when the bills started piling up, and the expensive dates turned into cheap takeout and excuses, reality began to sink in. She was no longer the pampered girlfriend, she was now the one scrambling to cover costs. And it got worse. Jason, it turned out, wasn't nearly as into the whole long-term commitment thing as she had assumed. Once his money problems became too much for even Madison to ignore, their relationship took a nosedive. The fights started, the tension grew, and eventually she found herself exactly where she had never expected to be. Alone, broke, and without a backup plan. When our friend finished talking, I simply nodded. I didn't ask for more details. I didn't feel bad, because this was exactly what Madison had always avoided. She had spent her life expecting someone else to clean up her messes, to make things easier for her when she didn't want to take responsibility. But now, she was finally learning what it meant to deal with the consequences of her own choices, and I had no intention of being her escape route. For weeks, Madison had stayed silent. No texts, no calls, no attempts to reach me. I assumed she had finally accepted that she was on her own. Maybe she had found another way to scrape by. Maybe she had even learned a lesson. But then, one night as I was finishing up some work, my phone buzzed. "Madison, hey, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but can we talk, just for a minute?" I stared at the message for a while, debating whether I should even entertain this. It was obvious what she wanted, some kind of safety net, a lifeline now that things had gone south. But I was done playing that role. Still, curiosity got the better of me. "Me, talk about what?" The typing bubble appeared immediately, like she had been waiting by the phone. Madison, I messed up, okay? I should have never left things the way I did. I should have been smarter. I just need a friend right now. A friend. I leaned back in my chair, shaking my head. After everything, she still thought she could spin this in a way that made her look like the victim. She wasn't apologizing for what she had done, just for the fact that it had backfired. I had no interest in playing along. Me. Friends don't betray each other. Friends don't use each other. If you wanted a friend, you should have thought about that before you walked away. A pause. Then, another message. Madison, it's not like that, Eric. I just need a little help. Things have been really rough since Jason and I broke up. I'm behind on some payments and I just thought, I don't know. I thought you'd understand. There it was. The real reason she was reaching out. Not for friendship, not for closure, but for money. I couldn't help but laugh. She had gone from playing the role of the untouchable woman who had upgraded her life to now practically begging for scraps from the man she had discarded. Me? Oh, I understand perfectly. You left because you thought you could do better. You realized you couldn't, and now you want me to clean up your mess. That about right, Madison? That's not fair. I never meant to hurt you. I thought things would be different. Yeah, me too. I thought you were someone worth my time. Turns out I was wrong. She sent one final message, and this one almost made me feel something. Almost. Madison, I just don't know what to do. I don't have anywhere to go. For a brief moment I considered replying, maybe offering some advice, some small gesture of kindness. But then I remembered she had made her choice. So I left her message on read. And that silence, that was all the response she was going to get. Days passed and Madison didn't text again. Maybe she had finally accepted reality. Maybe she had found someone else to rely on. Or maybe, just maybe, she was sitting in her empty apartment staring at her phone, hoping I'd change my mind. Either way, it wasn't my problem. But then, late one evening, my phone lit up again. Madison, I'm sorry, can we at least talk? I stared at the screen, feeling nothing. Not anger, not regret, not even satisfaction. Just the realization that I had completely moved on. She wasn't my concern anymore. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I scrolled through our old messages back when things were different. When she would send me random selfies, tell me about her day, ask if I wanted anything from the store before she got home. It felt like another lifetime. This time, I didn't need to think about my reply. I smirked, deleted the message, and then did what I should have done the first time she betrayed me. Block. No long-winded speeches, no final words. Just the digital equivalent of slamming a door in her face. The sweetest kind of closure. A week later, I ran into a mutual friend at a cafe. We made small talk for a while before she hesitated, lowering her voice. So, Madison's been asking about you, she said. She seemed different? I raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to continue. She looked tired, she admitted. Not in the usual I partied too hard way, but like life finally caught up to her. I think she really thought you'd be there when everything fell apart. I nodded, stirring my coffee. Well, she thought wrong. The friend sighed. I'm not saying you should forgive her or anything, but I think she gets it now. She knows she messed up. Maybe she did. Maybe for the first time in her life, Madison was feeling something close to genuine regret. But that wasn't my burden to carry. I finished my coffee, paid my bill, and left with a quiet sense of peace. Moving forward, no looking back. Madison wasn't the first person to mistake kindness for weakness. She wasn't the first to assume that love came with an unlimited supply of forgiveness. But what she never understood was that I wasn't the kind of man who begged. I wasn't the kind of man who let betrayal slide. She wanted me to be mature, to be the bigger person, to be the safety net that cushioned her fall. Instead, I did the most mature thing I could. I let her deal with the consequences of her own choices. And as I walked away from the cafe that day, I realized something important. I didn't hate her. I didn't even wish her misery. I just didn't care anymore. And that was the real victory.